What's up, guys? Welcome to the Brothers in Christ podcast. Today we're going to be doing a Bible study over Ecclesiastes. We're going to start a series where we start doing Bible studies, not just doing podcasts. But today we're in Ecclesiastes, and it's one of my favorite books. A little context behind it: King Solomon, who we don't know if he wrote Ecclesiastes, but it talks a lot about King Solomon and the wisdom that God gave him. So let's begin. So verse 1, it says, in Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 1, it says, "The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What does a man gain by the toil at which he toils under the sun?" So to stop right here, a little bit about vanity. Vanity means nothing or worthless. So he's talking about how everything is worthless. And he's asked a question: what does the man gain by which he does work in his life? And in the next verse, in verse 4, it says, "A generation goes and a generation comes, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun goes down, and it hastens to the place where it rises. And the wind blows to the south, and it goes around to the north. Around and around the wind goes. And it circuits, the wind returns. All the streams run to the sea, but the sea is not full. To the place where the stream flow, there they flow again. All things are full of weariness, a man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor ear filled with hearing." I thought it was interesting. In verse 5 and 6, he talks about how the sun rises and the sun goes down and the wind blows around, yet nothing changes. There's nothing new under the sun. And it says that in verse, where is it? Oh, it's later verse. I like the idea of the wind, how the wind just keeps on going around. And just like in the same way, our desires in life and the things we chase, we constantly have to chase things. Just like the wind goes around the earth, our hearts go around trying to chase and find fulfillment. Verse 9, "What has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done. There's nothing new under the sun. Is there a thing in which it is said, 'See, this is new'? It has already been in the ages before us. There's no remembrance of former things, nor will there be a remembrance of later things yet to be among those who come after." So it's again talking about how the sun rises and the sun goes down, and nothing really changes. In the same way in our life, there's nothing really new. From the beginning of time, we have tried to chase things other than God, which our sin has separated us from God. And we keep chasing other things in the world other than God. And there's nothing really new. Verse 12, "I, the preacher, have been king over Israel and Jerusalem, and I applied my heart to seek and search out by wisdom all that is done under heaven. It is an unhappy business that God has given to the children of man to be busy with. I have seen everything that is done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and striving after the wind." I think it's interesting. He describes how our lives and everything that we chase is vanity. And it's very true if you think about it. If you chase a life trying to get money, and then someday that money goes away, was it worth anything in the beginning? So it's kind of reminding us of the idea of how we in our lives chase the wind with the things that we try to satisfy us. But when we chase those things, one day we'll go to heaven, they'll be gone. So was it worth anything in the beginning? Let's continue. Verse 15, "What is crooked cannot be made straight, and what is lacking cannot be counted. I said in my heart, I have acquired great wisdom, surpassing all who were over Jerusalem before me, and my heart had great experience of wisdom and knowledge, and applied my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly, and I perceived this all to be but a striving after the wind." I think it's interesting in verse 15. It says, "What is crooked cannot be made straight, and what is lacking cannot be counted." So there's a lot of things in our life that we try to understand, and we're not going to be able to understand it because we're not God. There's just some things that only God knows. And no matter how hard we try, we're never going to know because we're not God. I think it's interesting in let's see here. Verse 17, I applied my heart to know wisdom, to know madness, and folly. I perceive that is also but striving after the wind. So not only the things we chase in this life are vanity, but also even wisdom is vanity if you think about it. If I try to understand the world all my life and then one day I die and go to heaven, was trying to understand the world worth anything when I could just be trusting in God, knowing that some things are beyond me and I may never know what the answer to a lot of things are. And that's a good thing because I think a lot of things we try to understand could bring us a lot of sadness and bitterness, and it's not worth it. And that's why God doesn't show us these things. And then verse 18, for in much wisdom is much vexation, and he who increases knowledge increases sorrow. So there is a lot of things that we also do want to know in our lives, such as answering prayers. When God doesn't answer them, you want to know why God didn't answer that prayer, or why he didn't open such door for a job or a friendship, relationship. But if we truly knew the reason, it could make us really sad. And so that's why God doesn't show us it, because he doesn't want us to be sad. And so he doesn't show us that. And let's continue in chapter 2. I said in my heart, come on now, I will test you with pleasure, enjoy yourself. But behold, this is also vanity. I said of laughter, it is madness, of pleasure, what use is it? I searched my heart to how to cheer my body with wine, my heart still guiding me with wisdom, and how to lay hold of fully till I might see what is good for the children of man to do under heaven during the few days of their life. I think it's interesting in verse 1. He says, I will test you with pleasure, enjoy yourself, but behold, this is vanity. I think it's crazy that even pleasure is vanity. If chase pleasure our whole life and then one day die and then have even more pleasure and joy in heaven, was chasing that worth it in our lives? That too is also vanity. Verse 4, I made great works. I built houses, planted vineyards for myself. I made myself gardens, parks, and planted them in all kinds of fruit trees. I made myself pools from which to water the forest of growing trees. I bought male and female slaves and had slaves who were born in my house. I had also great possessions of herds, flocks, more than any who had seen before me in Jerusalem. I also gathered myself silver and gold and treasure of kings and provinces. I got singers, both men and women, and many concubines, and delight of sons of man. So I became great and surpassed all who were before me in Jerusalem. Also my wisdom remained with me, and whatever my eyes desired, it did not keep from them. I kept my heart from no pleasure, for my heart found pleasure in all my toil, and this was my reward for my toil. Then I considered all that my hands had done, and the toil I had expanded in doing it, and behold, all was vanity, striving after the wind. There was nothing to be gained under the sun. So what he's talking about here, King Solomon, he built up a mighty kingdom with a lot of things, and he got everything he wanted, but then he realized that all these things would leave him when he's dead. So did he gain anything in the first place? He says that everything is vanity, and it's true, because the only things that are not vanity and that will take with you in heaven are the people you change, the treasure you store, the glory in heaven, and those are the only things that aren't vanity, because they'll be with you when you die. And I think it's interesting. I think all of our hearts are like this, where we try to chase try to gain money, fame, social status, even chase like trying to get big houses, nice cars, but we don't realize that these things are not going to last, And these things are not going to fill us up because our hearts were made by God and made to be filled with Him and not of the world. If you think about a car has to be filled with gas because that's how it was created. And if you fill it with something else, such as water, it's not going to run very good. And in the same way, our hearts were made for God. And so when we try to fill it with things that are not from God, that's why we feel empty and we can't live our lives normally, and we constantly have to chase joy because that's not how it was made to fill our hearts. And so Solomon, chasing a great kingdom, building amazing things, it didn't satisfy his heart because his pleasure was in what he has, and if he loses it, he has nothing. So he realized that all that toil, as he describes it, was all for nothing. It's just, he describes it as chasing after the wind, which is very true. And then he says how nothing is to be gained under the sun, which I disagree, because the things of the world, yes, you will not take with you, and there's nothing to be gained because you'll lose it when you go to heaven. But if you change people, bring people who are lost, and they find Jesus into their hearts, they'll be with you in heaven. Those are the things that are not vanity, and that's the purpose of our lives, is to listen to the calling in Matthew 28:19, and go make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Those people that we save in heaven, that is not vanity, because they will be with us when we die. They'll be up in heaven. Meanwhile, the kingdom that King Solomon built, that will not be with him in heaven. When he dies, it will be left on the earth. So it really questions the things we chase in this life. Are they really worth it? Are they really going to satisfy us? Are they really going to end in anything when we die? And I think that's a very important question, because that our purpose in life, that's the biggest question, is like, what are you chasing? Are you chasing the world, which is vanity? Or are you chasing God, which is eternal? And so, yeah, I love Ecclesiastes. Whenever there's things I want and I can't get, I always remind myself that those things are vanity, and it kind of makes me feel better reminding myself that they won't fulfill me like God does. And so I think that will conclude the Ecclesiastes Bible study. I hope you guys got something out of it, and hopefully God spoke to you in your heart, and that I'm not speaking for myself. That's the goal. But I thank you guys for watching. See you guys later. Bye.